Hello, my seven deadly sins, family and friends. Welcome back to another video. I apologise for the delay. I haven't been well, and I'm recovering. But Hoshi here, my good friend, has brought something to my attention that I thought is very important, and we really wanted to bring it to you now. So say hi, Hoshi.
Hello, everyone. How are y'all? Yes, sir.
So him and a friend Switch, they found out something very interesting about the new raid set. So the new raid set, if we have a quick read of it, is using the tag skill increases crit damage by 50% of the burst efficiency of the hero's element for 30 seconds. At 5 piece, that caps at 18%, and at 7 piece, that caps at 30%. But what they found out that's very interesting is that this is shared across all your teammates. So if you tag in with Gotha, you'll see the buff at the bottom, but then if you switch over to Merlin, the buff won't be there, but he will still get the crit damage buff. So it might be a bug, might be just a visual bug. Hopefully it is working as intended and is a visual bug, because it could be pretty crazy. So Hoshi, why don't you explain kind of like how it works and how you've kind of found out about it?
So part of it is that I was trying to ask people if they're having the issue where it's not showing the crit damage in the stat screen, because most buffs give you the crit damage in the stat screen. And then when I was asking people, they just said, well, it gives you the buff, so why doesn't it show up? So my first test was, okay, I'll try it with the element that has it equipped. So in this case, I was using Lightning Drake with the longsword because his new engrave gives you lightning burst. I thought it'd be interesting to try that out instead of go through. And when I was testing it, I realized I am getting increased crit damage, but it's not showing up in the stat screen at all. I had to resort to actually doing manual testing using normal attacks. And I noticed that when I swapped certain gear pieces around, that my normal attack would change. The crit damage from my normal attack would actually change, even though it was not reflecting that in the stat screen. And for this test, I used Dark Bug and I used Lightning Longsword Drake. And this is because I wanted to eliminate any possibilities that Bug could be giving any bonuses to Drake. And I also unequipped almost all of my gear. So I didn't have any weapon on Drake and I didn't have like any gear on Bug at all. Just to, completely make sure, completely neutralize the
Yeah,
test as much as possible.
yeah. So whilst you're talking that, I quickly showed that he was getting the crit damage buff from the set, but it was not showing within the detailed info screen, which is very interesting to see. But you told me that it only works on certain elements, right?
So it does not work at all with a darkness hero, a holy hero, or a physical hero. Now that doesn't mean that
And
the physical hero or darkness hero or holy hero can't get the buff from someone else, but if that type of hero has the armor equipped, the raid armor equipped, and does the switch to get the buff, it just won't give you the buff at all.
yeah, and the reason why we believe this is happening is because within the description of the 5 piece and 7 piece, it says it excludes all elemental burst efficiency, so it has to be a specific elemental burst efficiency, and because they're the elements can't have their own specific elemental burst efficiency, it doesn't work on them, right?
That does seem to be the case. And not to mislead users, you can still use this on melee. You like not the raid gear, but you can still get the crit damage bonus
Yeah.
on melee, even though he has a darkness type.
Yeah. So what's interesting is if you didn't know about the Gluttonous Soul Wand, is it says lightning burst efficiency increases by 30%. Now, up until today, I thought this only meant it was for Gotha. But similar to the Spring Robe from Daisy, where it says increases all allied heroes, even though this one doesn't say increases all allied heroes burst efficiency, this is actually affecting the rest of your team. So we have a quick look at Merlin, and she does have 8.77% lightning burst efficiency on her earrings and nowhere else. I'll quickly show the weapon, nowhere else we look at her stats, she has 38.77%. That's an extra 30%, which is coming from the wand. And this is really, really useful for us to know, because it means that even if you only have one setup and it's on Gotha and he's using the wand, you're basically going to be getting a free 15% crit damage minimum if you have a maxed out Gluttonous Soul Wand. And because of this, you don't have to build Lightning Burst efficiency per se on your DPS characters. It can just be from this wand. And of course the earrings, if you do find that as well. But you said to me, Hoshi, that it has to be the same element. So you can't run, say, a 5-piece set on Gotha, which is Lightning Burst efficiency, and then like a 5-piece set on, say, Deanne with Earth Burst efficiency. They would clash and it wouldn't really work, right?
So the caveat, so to speak, would be if you're using a lightning element character that has the spider raid gear on, you would need lightning burst efficiency on what you're trying to get the crit damage to apply
Right.
to. We
So,
can go deeper
yeah.
into that if you would like to.
But the basis is whatever element is the character that's wearing the 5-piece, that's what element burst efficiency you need on the other characters. So something else that we are unable to show, but I can assure you is true, is if you wear this on both, say, Gotha and, say, Daisy, it means that you're going to get 50% from his set and 50% from her set, equaling 100%. So because the cap is at 18% from the 5-piece, and my Merlin currently has 38%, that means half of this, which will be above that 18%, is that she's guaranteed that 18%. But if 2 people are wearing it that are both lightning, she's going to get a free 36% crit damage or more, depending if you wear the 7-piece. Right? Isn't that what you and Switch tested, Hoshi?
Yes, sir. Switch and I tested this just last night, 720. And it turns out that if you have the 5-piece on 2 characters, you will get the bonus 2 times. Now they have to be both lightning, and there's some caveats, of course. But they both need to be lightning, and then you need to have lightning burst efficiency on your DPS, or they need to both be, earth, or they need to both be fire, and you need the corresponding burst efficiency.
And I assume that they would both have to tag in to get that activated to then you switch over to your DPS, right? So then go to tag in,
Yes, sir.
then Daisy, and then your DPS, right?
Yes, sir. You are going to need enough tag skill to make this work.
Which isn't too bad, to be honest. I don't think that's too troublesome, really. So I forgot to showcase this whilst I was on the call with Hoshi and for us to chat about it, but I really wanted to show why getting even 18% is such a big deal and how easy it is to get that 18% with a wand Gotha. So if we have a quick look at the enchanting that you can get from your elemental beads that you're going to be using on your DPS, is obviously they're going to be wanting to get crit damage anyway because of increasing your damage so much. But if you have a quick look here, you get between 10 to 17.83%. So even if you get the max amount of crit damage, you're not getting as much as that free, like 15, 18% basically, if you wear that elemental burst efficiency earrings. So because of this, and you can wear multiple of them within your team, you're going to get way more than you can get on this enchanting. So I know this enchanting is so RNG, and I haven't been lucky enough to get such like amazing rolls to get everything on there with all the elemental damage, the skill damage, and the crit damage. So if you have it, even better. But if you don't have that crit damage roll, this can really help and boost you up so much and really boost your damage up. So if you got like the lowest roll of 10% here, and then the lowest roll on your earrings, and the lowest roll on your earrings is actually like 7%, that's like 17%, or even like 13% crit damage just from that. And that's less than what you would get from using this strat with the 5-piece or even the 7-piece, right? Because if you do decide to use the 7-piece, That's 30%. So that's like 100% of your crit damage up to 30%. So if for some reason you rolled on your one for Merlin, lightning burst efficiency on here as well. And if we have a quick look at what you can get from there, you can get another 18%, so, or say like 15% in the middle or 40% in the middle. That's 14% from the wand. You're going to get probably about 9% from here, so that's 23% from just those two pieces. And then the 30% from Gotha, that's 53%. You're nearly capping at that 30% crit damage buff just from that. So it is really, really powerful. And hopefully it can be like one of the go-to strats. But more in-depth about it, showcasing it in action, and maybe answering the rest of your questions. So I'm going to hand the reins over to Hoshi now, and he can showcase and explain things to you.
So I am going to be using the 7-piece set for this demonstration. I have no other characters just in case they may have some ability, like Liz's healing can give you crit damage if you have the engrave on, which can throw off the understanding of how this works. Here are my stats and gear that I'm using on my Merlin, just so that you know what I have. I do not have any armor on except for the engrave armor, and I do have a 15.47% burst affinity lightning roll on my weapon. I just want to go back and show y'all again when I do switch from my Drake with the buff on to my Merlin. She doesn't have the buff on, and she doesn't get the crit damage. And I'm going to demonstrate what actually happens when you do a normal attack multiple times. So this is going to be my baseline with no tag skill buff. I will crit for 6615 every time. So now when I do the tag switch to Drake and switch back to Merlin, I'm going to have the crit damage buff, which means that I should be critting for 6865. Now this is proven when I look at Tap Gaming's calculator that he created. As you remember, our baseline was 6615, and now we are going to look at the calculator and see what the estimated upgrade would be if we had divided our burst affinity in half and added that as crit damage to our crit damage, even though it doesn't show up on the stat screen. And this means we would have 155.15% crit damage. And if we do a normal attack and calculate the damage, it should be 6,865 on a critical hit with a normal attack from Merlin on the first hit, no combo, which is exactly what we see in the video. So I can have Melly put lightning burst earrings on him and have another character that's a lightning element have the set on, such as Daisy, and when he swaps to her and she gets a tag skill and she gets the buff from the raid armor, he gets half of that lightning burst from the earrings as crit damage. Meaning if you have 10% lightning burst earrings on Melly and you get the raid set on Daisy and you get the tag skill on Daisy, swap back to Melly, you are getting 5% crit damage for free basically. So I'm just going to have some Drake testing in the background, but I wanted to explain a caveat. So this is a wild example, but it may pertain in some sort of way to somebody eventually. But if you have, for example, rolled Diane's axe and you happen to get Earth Burst Affinity on it, and you have Earth Liz, and you put the 5-piece raid set on Earth Liz, and then let's say you have Lightning Burst earrings, and you put that on Diane. Now you have both Earth Burst Affinity and Lightning Burst Affinity on Diane. Now let's say you're using Earth Liz and Lightning Daisy, and you have the raid set on both of them, the Spider raid set on both of them, and you're doing combat, and you switch to Liz with a tag skill, you switch to Daisy with a tag skill, they both have the buff, now you swap back to Diane. You are now getting the buff from both of them for half of the affinity corresponding to the element. So the Earth Burst affinity is going to be half of that, and you're going to get that added to your crit damage. Then the Lightning Burst affinity, you're going to have that and add that to your crit damage. The reason why this is because it corresponds to the element of the character that has the raid set. So Lightning Daisy is going to give you half of your Lightning Burst Affinity. Earth Liz is going to give you half of your Earth Burst Affinity. So there is some little caveats that people may not think about, and I just wanted to explain that.
If you have found this video interesting or you've learnt something new, do consider leaving both of us a like and a subscribe. It would mean the world to us. We hope you have a wonderful rest of your day, and until our next videos, cheerio!